Hi, good morning, everyone. Officially, my name is Karen. I'm the Adult Program Coordinator at the Downers Grove Library. We are extremely happy to have you all here with us today to for one of my favorite job workshops, which is some basic tools and tips to how to get the thing done before we launch into the new year. So I'm going to turn this over to Janet. She is the job coach manager at the People's Resource Center. And we will get this started. One other quick thing, the meeting is being recorded. However, any questions that you want to ask at the end, those will be edited out of the recording, so you won't have your personal questions out there. So I will turn it over to Janet.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to be here today with everybody. Welcome. I am Janet Terranova. I'm the manager of the Job Assistance Program at People's Resource Center. And also with me today is Charles, and he is one of our volunteers and job coaches. And he also helps present at our workshops as well. He kind of does everything really. So let me go ahead and share my screen here and we can get started with our presentation. Can everybody see that? Yes, okay, I see some nods. Okay, here we go. Okay, so again, thank you for attending today's virtual workshop. Just before we get started, a couple of guidelines for the virtual workshop. If you can mute your line, that will help us just to eliminate some of the background distractions or any unforeseen interruptions that may happen. Feel free to turn on your video. It's great for us to see some faces, feel like we're actually, here delivering this to somebody, and it's better for interaction. But if you're not comfortable with it, that's okay too. We're still happy to have you. If you're not comfortable asking questions at the end, you can also use the chat function, and Karen will be monitoring that, and we can hit some of those questions at the end as well. It's easiest to use the side-by-side mode, just for better viewing, and we are being recorded in this particular workshop. So let me start off by telling you a little bit about People's Resource Center for those of you who may not be as familiar. I would say that PRC is most well known for our food pantry, but we do offer a variety of other services as well, including the ones listed here. I would say that we work most closely with computer training and access. So once you become a client of PRC, you have access to any of these services, which again are free of charge to residents of DuPage County. So again, you can access our food pantry, you can get computer training, you can be part of our job assistance program. And we also have a clothes closet that's run out of the Westmont location and an art studio as well. So if you choose to become a client of PRC and work with the job assistance program, we can help you with just a slew of things in your job search, including helping you design a resume. We have assessments that we offer that can help you kind of hone in on some skills that you may need for a particular job. You have the opportunity to work one-on-one with a job coach, again, like Charles, he is one of our coaches. We offer these workshops through many of our libraries in DuPage County. And we also have a job board on our website, which anyone can access. So please feel free to check that out. If you just go to the job assistance section under services, at the bottom, you'll see a link to our job board, which is updated actually several times a week. Okay, so let's get right into it. Again, job search in the 21st century. So you may all be in different places in your job search right now, but I think what we can all agree on is that searching for a job can be a job in itself. It can be very exhausting, very draining for people. So our goal here is to help you stay organized and focused and really kind of lay it out for you so that you can come at it within a very deliberate manner. So we're going to cover all of these topics here. So let's start by talking about your job search network. So some people feel frustrated maybe a little bit about this statement, but most job openings are actually not advertised. And what that means is there's just a whole lot of jobs that are out there and they're not advertised. And instead, they are talked about and communicated through people that they know and who they trust. And that's considered that hidden job market. Okay, so how do you get into that hidden job market, and how do you find out about those hidden jobs? Well, you have to network. And that can be tricky for some people who aren't very comfortable. You picture like your extroverts that go out and can schmooze and really talk it up with people. And yes, there is a part of that. You do need to be able to communicate and feel comfortable having those conversations with people. And that's one way that you start to build your network. And that's a great way to find out about some of these jobs that are in this hidden job market. Because again, most of those are going to people through some sort of referral, because companies like referrals, because typically they're going to get somebody that other people are familiar with and they trust. And so that's good to know this person is recommending candidate A versus candidate B who they know nothing about. So how do you build your job search network? So we'll dive into all of these a little bit. And again, it's extremely important, and hopefully this will kind of get you started and comfortable with putting those feelers out and starting to build that network. So tips for building your network. When you do talk to people and you're interacting with them, don't just ask for a job. You want to ask for information. So one thing I'll say before we get too far into this is just remember, you never know who you're talking to. So it could be the cashier at Mariano's, it could be the president of a bank, it could be the postal carrier. It doesn't really matter. You never know who that person knows and who they can connect you with. So be kind and courteous to everybody. And again, instead of saying, hey, do you guys have a job for me? Ask for information and talk about yourself a little bit and discover how you may be a good candidate for them and link that together for them. So who do you want to talk to? Well, you want to talk to people who know about that job and jobs that interest you. And it's okay to also ask for an informational interview. So that's a great chance for you to seek out some of that information and ask some questions about the company, just to learn more about it. And you want to do that because, again, this is a two-way street. You need a job and they're looking for somebody, but you wanted to make sure that it's a good fit for both of you. Because of course, when you do find that job, you want to go somewhere and stay there and be happy there. So again, some things you can ask about the occupation, industries, the people that work there. And again, be polite, because I can't stress that enough. You never know who you're talking to, who they know, or who's listening. Again, be prepared to talk about yourself. This is very difficult for some people. Modesty is something that we all try to have, but during an interview or when you're trying to sell yourself, that is not the time to be modest. You really do need to put yourself out there and talk about all the great things that you have to offer. So you may need to practice with other people first, just to get comfortable doing that. So again, make sure you're clear about your skills and background for that particular job. Okay, so whatever job it is that you're looking for, there are going to be certain responsibilities and skills that they need for that job, and that's what you're going to want to link up with your own skills and strengths that you feel you have. Again, practice that 30-second tell me about yourself speech. And I would encourage you, there's several ways you can do that. You can talk to yourself, you can practice it out loud in front of a mirror. You can practice with a friend, a coach, a loved one, someone that you trust. Just keep saying it. Another idea is to actually record yourself doing it and then watch it back. That's a really great way to really see what you're saying, listen to what you're saying, and also any like nonverbal cues that you may be putting off as well. Follow good networking habits. So networking is like making friends, which we've kind of talked about. It's all about relationships. And when you are trying to form a relationship, build a relationship, and maintain that relationship, there's certain things that you have to keep in mind. Again, being courteous, being kind, being respectful. Think about how you would treat your friends, or how you would treat somebody, a boss, anybody that, a loved one. Again, what kind of skills do you bring to maintain those relationships? And consider the people that you want to give back to the people that have helped you in the past. Okay, so that's who you're going to make those connections with. Again, your network, the people that you form that relationship with, they are going to be talking about you and possibly making that referral. So you always want to put your best foot forward when you're forming these relationships. Sending thank you notes or emails is very helpful. I'll admit that nowadays emails are really more popular and absolutely acceptable. I haven't seen a good old fashioned hard copy, hard thank you note come through the mail in a while, but an email is very acceptable. And you can do that, I would suggest, within 24 hours. So if you make a good connection with a network, especially when that person does make a referral or does connect you with someone or puts in a good word for you, you certainly send them an email thanking them for that referral. And that just keeps that relationship positive for any future referrals that you may need from that person again. Professional groups is another great way for you to stay connected. So check to see if your target job has a professional association group. Most have something out there. Think about like attorneys with the bar association. That would be an example of that. Many of them are online. You can do like a quick Google search to determine, what groups are available for your particular job industry. And many of those groups are really eager to help job seekers. That's what they're there for. And they may know employers with job openings. So this is a great group to connect with. Again, being on your best behavior. And some of them may have a fee associated with them, but they also have specials for students or people looking to transfer into that profession. So it's a great tool that some people overlook at times. Again, you want to find people in your target job market. So I would start with the people that you're most comfortable with. That would be your friends, your family members, people that you used to work with that you have a good relationship with, neighbors. They may know people that are in your target job. So talk to them though about your career goals. Sell yourself to them as well. They may not know you in that capacity well enough. So you want to tell them what your strengths are, why you would be good for this job, what you've done to prepare for the job, and see if they know other people that you can contact. So that's a great way. It's like the 6 degrees, like they know someone who knows someone who knows someone. And that's just how it works. And that's how you tap into that hidden job market. The person that ends up giving your name, you may not know them directly, but you got to them through other people that you mutually know. That is not uncommon, and it is acceptable to do that. So keep up to date, with your network, especially people that are your references. You want to talk to them about what kind of job you're looking for. If you've applied somewhere, that's good for them to know as well, especially with your references, that if they are getting phone calls from companies, you definitely want them to be aware of where you are in your job search, and, certainly not reflect any, shock that, oh my gosh, I didn't know Charles was going into sales. I never thought he would do that. That's not what you want your network or references to say. So you want to keep in touch with them, keep them up to date on, what you're doing and what kind of job you're looking for. Okay, so we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about this checklist. So how to research your target position, preparing a really strong resume, how to get your references in order. We'll talk about some job search strategies and making sure that you can be reached by an employer. So as I said before, when you start a job search, it can be very overwhelming. So we encourage our clients to really get organized and focused and dedicate a specific time during the week to your job search. And part of that means setting goals. They can be daily goals and weekly goals. I would even suggest having a calendar, with the times, the days and the times, and really carve out specific time for your job search, specifically writing what you're going to do during that time. Okay. And if you're earlier in your job search stage right now, which some of you may be, you should be spending time in the preparation stage and expect to spend time there so that when you do hit the active job search stage, you are more well prepared and you're going to be more successful. So it's essential that you spend that time preparing, and some goals that you may be setting in that state, in that preparation stage, is developing that me in 30-second speech. Again, that first question in an interview is almost always, tell me about yourself. So you want to make sure that you work on that answer, develop what that's going to look like. Okay. Maybe you're not totally sure what industry you want to go in. So in the preparation stage, this is where you're going to spend some time identifying, what industry you want to go in, or some target positions, some target companies that you want to work for. And that may mean you're taking some assessments or maybe some quizzes online that kind of, make suggestions on where you might be a good fit, like what kind of industry you would be passionate about. Some other things would be making a list of contacts, like just listing people that you can identify as a network or references. And then perhaps you don't have an Indeed or LinkedIn account yet. That would be something that you want to at least set up your profiles for. So when you're ready, and also preparing your resume, when you're ready and you've got your resume, you've got your online, tools ready to go, now you're going to hit the active job search stage. Okay, so now on Indeed and LinkedIn, you're going to set your alerts to the specific jobs you want. Maybe you're putting out some applications. Maybe your goal is, I'm going to submit 2 applications this week to 2 companies that I identified. Okay, now you've already made your list of networks or references. Now you're going to reach out to them and start making those phone calls and connecting with them, and potentially connecting with more people from there. This is where you're going to conduct mock interviews, perhaps with a job coach. Also emailing your network, right? Updating them on any progress that you've made. So there is a difference between those 2 stages. And mainly I want you to understand that it is appropriate to be spending more time in the preparation stage, especially in the beginning. I know we get a little anxious and, we need a job and we need it now. So we just want to get out there and start throwing applications out. But if you're not prepared, you're not going to go anywhere, and you may end up getting more frustrated than if you just spent more time in that prep stage before you really went at it. So if you've identified some places that you may like to work, we always suggest that you research those positions. So maybe that's a specific company, maybe that's just like, I want to be a physical therapist, but what exactly does that mean? So there's a couple of things that you can do, and there's some online assessments. So the first one is mynextmove.org. So this is a great interactive tool. And let me just say that both of these are very simple to use. You don't need logins. You don't need to create an account or anything like that. They're free and they're fairly easy and short. So My Next Move, if you are not really sure maybe where you want to go, you can jump on here and it'll give you like a quick quiz, and it'll give you a whole bunch of ideas for like some career options for you. And in addition to that, they also have information about some job positions, including what those tasks might look like, what skills are needed, salary information, and there's literally over 900 different careers listed in there. So again, there might be some positions, maybe you see a job that piques your interest, but you're not totally sure what it means or what that's going to look like. This is a great place to go and do a little bit of research there. Similarly, ONET Online, again, you can look at tons and tons of careers that can tell you all about the skills, knowledge, and abilities that are going to be needed for that particular job. And we're going to talk about resumes later. And ONET Online is another great tool to use when you're creating your resume, when you're trying to find keywords to link your skills with the position. So you're going to actually match up specifically what is needed for that particular job. Oh, well, look at that. And here we are at preparing a strong resume. So again, some of you may have an existing resume and you're ready to go, and others may be in the beginning stages where maybe you're making a career change and you need a new resume, update your old one, or maybe you don't have one at all. That is okay. But you do need to spend some time working on that. And again, with the job assistance program at PRC, we have job coaches and we actually have resume writers that can specifically help you design an entire resume. So what you want to do with your resume, and once you've identified a job that you're potentially interested in, that you're going to apply for, resumes now, you have to link up the keywords and match the position that you're seeking with your own skills and experiences. So again, resumes are accomplishment driven. It should not just list your job duties. So when you think about job duties, that's just what you did at a particular job, versus accomplishments is how you did it, how good you were at it. And this is just a way for you, again, to talk about your skills and your accomplishments. And I would also encourage you to list metrics in your resume. And metrics would be anything with numbers, percentages, dollar amounts. I think, Charles, what is it? The average is like 6 seconds that people will spend looking at a resume.
Yeah, about six seconds.
So what that essentially means is if your resume gets in the hands of somebody, a human being, they spend about 6 seconds looking at it. So what happens is the eyes are drawn to certain things on a resume, and usually those are going to go to those metrics, dollar signs, percentages, numbers. So you really want to make sure that your resume is accomplishment driven, so that if they're going to read just a couple of bullet points, they're going to be strong and powerful sentences. Okay. So again, you want to match keywords in your resume to the job descriptions that you apply for. Okay. I can't remember. I think, let me back up one more time here. So a couple of other ways that you can do that. You can go to sites like, TagCrowd, and you can put in, you cut and copy your resume, and then you can cut and copy the description of the job, and it will give you like a word cloud, and you want those word clouds to match. So the word cloud will put the words that are most commonly used. It'll be bigger, bolder, and more often. And your resume should reflect the same types of words that are used in the job description. And that's to ensure that you get through the applicant tracking system, which most companies are using now. So the first hurdle is to get through the ATS. And then hopefully if you get your resume in the hands of a human being, again, they're going to spend just a few seconds looking at that resume. So you want to prepare a strong resume. I talked a little bit about references already. Typically, you want about 3 personal references and 3 business references. Not all companies are going to ask you for it, but some will. Some will ask you for it, and they may not even contact them. But if they're asking for it, you need to provide it. And again, this is something that you can prepare for now versus when you're applying for the job. So after the end of this workshop, you can start thinking about, who are my reference going to be? And you can reach out to them, contact them, ask them, I'd like to use you as a reference. Are you comfortable with that? I'm sure they'll say yes. And that way you've already done that and you're ready to put their name and number down. Make sure that you have a good working phone number and email address for them. It doesn't bode well when you have a personal reference that you claim to have known for 20 years and the phone number is, no longer valid, or it's wrong. It goes to somebody else and their email address bounces back. It's not really consistent with you knowing this person that well. Okay. So, and sometimes people are moving. So stay in touch with your references and make sure that you have accurate information for them. And then oftentimes they'll ask what your connection is to that reference as well. So, if they're personal, it could be, family friend, neighbor. For the business ones, so you probably put their title, or, maybe it's a supervisor or a coworker. So just your relationship with them, excuse me. And again, keep them up to date with your progress as you move along. Okay, so some different job search strategies. I would venture to bet that all of you are familiar and have probably been looking for jobs on Indeed and LinkedIn, but there's many, many more places that you can be looking for jobs. I would encourage you to attend some job fairs. They're advertised, quite often online. If you want to make a mental note, PRC is having a job fair on March 9th. So these are great for you to attend, great for networking, getting your resume out, and talking to some people. It's a good chance for you to make a face-to-face meeting with somebody, which, let's admit, it's hard to do that nowadays. And just a good way to put, hand somebody your actual resume so that they can get put a face to the resume, and, you can let your personality come through a bit. Part-time employment is sometimes an option for people. I recognize that it's not for everybody, but part-time employment will sometimes lead to full-time. So I know people that, you know, if there's not a full-time job available in the industry that they're looking at, they will take something part-time. And that's a great way for you to get your foot in the door, because then when that full-time position does open up, they already know you, they know your work ethic, they know how you work, they know if you get along with people, you already understand the culture in the company. So you would probably have a leg up on somebody that's, you know, applying for this. Again, networking, the hidden job market, you would have an in there. That's what we're trying to accomplish. There's job clubs that you can look into. We kind of talked about some of that before. And then volunteering is also a great way that leads to networking contacts. When you volunteer, you meet such a wide variety of people and of different backgrounds. So that's a great chance for you to interact and discover, you know, some different connections that you might be able to make. And you may end up, you know, forging a great relationship with someone that could ultimately be used as a reference as well. So even at PRC in my time there, I've talked with so many different volunteers. Again, such huge variety of backgrounds, and they make great connections for us as well. Okay, making sure you can be reached by an employer. This sounds very obvious, but just take a second to think about your voicemail. First of all, your voicemail message and your outgoing should be clear, easy to understand, and professional. I have called people and I get the, you know, I'm sorry, the voicemail box is full. Well, that's going to be a huge turnoff for any employer. They are not going to keep calling you in hopes that they're going to catch you. So please make sure that you clear out your voicemail messages so that if someone does call, they can actually leave a message for you to call them back. I assure you, they are not going to keep trying. They're going to move on to the next person, and you would lose a job opportunity because you didn't delete your messages. Your email address also needs to be simple and probably should include some version of your name, and professional. So just like anything, this would be an example, you know, msmith@gmail.com. Very easy, very simple. I've seen some pretty, I guess I'll go with creative email addresses in my time. So you don't want to turn off an employer by something that's so easily managed or corrected. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about resumes. So I know, Charles, you love talking about this, you know, a resume being your sales brochure, and it's a way to sell yourself. That's essentially what you're doing on a resume, because you are submitting your resume to an employer. You're not meeting them face to face. You don't always get a chance to talk to them. So again, they're going to have just this little bit of time to look at it and get a feeling of who you are, right? So you want to make sure that it's short and concise. Remember, we have all of about 6 seconds at the most, and that it's easy to read and that it's professional. Your resume should include at least 4 items. Well, I'm sorry, your summary statement should include 4 items, and you're going to lead at the top with your summary statement. You're going to talk about your years of experience and in what industry. So again, experience in retail or 10 years experience as an administrative assistant. Try to include both of those things. What industry you worked for, again, hotel, hospitality, where your skills are, where you're strong. So computer skills might be a big one. These are going to be like your hard skills. Computer skills, new systems. Maybe there's a system in that particular job that you need to know and you're familiar with it. And then those are your hard skills. And then you're going to end with your soft skills. So again, that soft skills are going to be how you communicate with people, how you build relationships with them, how you get along with others. And that is becoming more and more important to employers. So what we're finding is that job seekers are actually, I guess, undervaluing their soft skills or not putting as much emphasis on those as they should, because the employers are actually weighing those more heavily than the hard skills. So there are ways to highlight that on your resume and also in your job interview. Again, you want to have a lot of white space so that's easy to read. If your resume is too dense with information, they will be overwhelmed and they're not going to read it. So again, accomplishment statements, making sure you're linking the keywords from your resume to the job description. It really aim for 1 page if you can. It should not be more than 2. Have all your complete contact information. There is no need to put your full address, meaning, the numerics with the street address. You just need your name, the city and state, a phone number, your email address, and if you have a LinkedIn account, a link to that as well. And then the information just be clear and concise, including your education and training information. You don't want to use colored paper. The reason for that is the ATS will not be able to read it. Again, the ATS being the applicant tracking system. Let me just point out, if you go to a job fair or you're going to be meeting somebody face-to-face, it would be okay then to hand them a resume on colored paper, or even something with a border or graphics. If that's, important to maybe in that particular job, creativity is important. So you want to highlight that. However, when you submit it online, you can't have any of that stuff. It will not get through the ATS. So avoid tables, charts, extra lines. Don't write anything in the headers and footers. You're going to end up getting bounced before anybody even gets a chance to look at it. Always proofread your resume. Make sure there's no misspelled words. You must have accurate information. Don't make things up, because they'll figure it out and you'll get bounced also very quickly. And then your job titles and dates, you just want to make sure that you're using the correct format for that as well. So when you talk about accomplishments, this can be very difficult for people as well. I think in the past, we always just wrote our job duties on a resume. So we have to, make the switch and consider how you write an accomplishment. So again, thinking results, and those are the metrics that I talked about before. So how did you improve or increase productivity? Did you create something? Did you increase profits? Did you reduce costs? Did you maybe implement a new program? Solve problems? And a lot of times when we work with people on their resume and we'll say, okay, let's think of accomplishments, it's really common for people to say, well, I don't have any accomplishments. Well, that's just not true. We all have accomplishments. Doesn't matter where you worked or what position you had. I'm quite sure that you did something right there. So your job coach can help you develop those, talk to some coworkers. This does take time. You do have to reflect on it. And it's, again, not the time to be modest. So there is a certain way to write this in your resume. And these words in red are great starting points for you. Again, job duties is just what you did. Accomplishments is how well you did it. If you think about it, when you apply for a job, and especially if it's in the same type of industry as your previous jobs, you're just listing job duties. You're basically telling the employer what the duties are of that job. They know that already. They put the job description out. They're fully aware of what the duties of that job is. They don't need to know that. They want to know how well you did that job. That's a great way to look at it. That's what an accomplishment is. So here's an example. A job duty would be worked in a call center or answered phones. So if you're applying for a job at a call center, I'm pretty sure they know that part of what you're going to do is answer the phones. So instead, these are just examples. You write, created a new program in the call center, which reduced dropped calls by 25%. So there's your metric, 25%. Your eyes are going to get drawn to that, and they're probably going to read this statement. The second one, quickly responded to customer needs by answering 99% of incoming calls before 3 rings. These are great examples of accomplishments. It's not just talking about answering the phones. It's talking about what you did there and how well you did it. Okay, so again, quickly responded, created a new program, and then throwing the metric in there really draws the eyes to that particular sentence. Again, worked on data entry. That's just a job duty. Instead, recommended improvements to Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, which resulted in improved billing methods. Again, this is a great one because it's talking about the results. Sometimes we forget to include the results. So if you created a program, that's great to put on your resume, but what was the result of that? Did it help efficiency? Did it improve customer satisfaction? So don't forget that back end of it, as far as, you know, what the ultimate result was of something that you did at the company. So I know this is a little bit tough to see, but these are just two examples of resumes. The one on your left is a chronological resume, which many of us are familiar with. That's kind of just, you know, what we know as listing your previous employment by date. The one on the right is a functional resume, and this is the one that we recommend people use when they are making a career change or if they've been out of the job market for a long time. This one, you're going to lead with your accomplishments versus leading with your work experience. You still list your employment experience on the bottom, but here you're going to be talking about your accomplishments and kind of highlighting those versus all the different positions that you held. So you may have heard that cover letters are kind of going to the wayside a bit. And I do think that that may be true, but if you're applying for a position and they're still asking for a cover letter, you do need to still submit one. I can't guarantee that anyone's going to look at it, but you should still put one in. So your cover letter should be very short. It should grab the employer's attention, and it should not just restate everything that's in your resume. It's a chance for you to introduce yourself to the employer, put a little bit more personality in it, and really highlight your strengths. You want to address it to the manager by last name. If you don't know that person's name, it's okay to say, you know, just refer to as like hiring manager. And again, stressing your accomplishments, highlighting your achievements, make sure it's accurate, no punctuation, spelling, grammar mistakes. It should match the resume as far as font, you know, so that you can see that they go together, but again, not restating all the same information. Not long, not wordy, just a couple paragraphs. I think yesterday we heard like maybe 12 sentences at the most. Again, that first paragraph, you're going to grab their attention, state the position you're applying for, and maybe how you heard of the opening. In the second paragraph, why you're interested and what makes you qualified for it. In the third paragraph, it's a good place to use bullet points just so you can include some highlights. And then in the final paragraph is just what your expectations are about an interview. You can just say, you know, I look forward to a phone call. I look forward to an interview. I look forward to the opportunity. Just a nice conclusion there. We've already talked extensively about references. Just make sure you ask permission before you use someone as a reference. And again, just some examples, 3 business, 3 personal, following up with your references when you have any information that would be important for them to know. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Charles to talk about applications.
All right, thank you, Janet. A lot of information in this time period so far, and if you don't have it all memorized, that's okay. Go back. I believe that Karen will have this available afterwards, the recording. If I'm incorrect, let me know, Janet. But go back, review this again. And you want to get a few really important points out of this. And one of them certainly was accuracy. Job application. I had a client recently that said, oh, I have a great resume. And I asked them, well, did you do a job application? Yeah. Did you proofread it? Nah, it's not that important, the job application. Yes, it is. The job application is, think of your applying for it and getting a job, you've got 3 legs. You've got the resume, you have the application, and you have the interview. Well, you have to do the right thing on all 3 of them. You can't slack off and say, well, I took a guess at the dates that I worked at this company when I filled out the resume. No, don't take guesses. Fill it out accurately. It's a legal document. Make sure it's correct. The reason it's a legal document, you sign it maybe by computer. If you misstate information, that could be grounds for the company letting you go after you started working there, when they find out like you were off 6 months with your last employer. So be accurate. Next. All right. Yeah, no misspellings. Imagine your resume. Yes, attention to details. Accuracy is so important to me. And then you have misspellings in your application. there's a disconnect there. It doesn't add up, and right there, that's going to blow it for you. So be very careful. Double check it before you, I know you're anxious, you go through that application, there's 20 things to fill out, and you want to get it off your computer, you want to hit that submit. Don't rush to hit the submit. Go over it again, review it a second, maybe a third time, and then hit the submit. Because once you hit that submit, you can't call it back. It's like those emails that you wish you never sent. You don't want to do that. So what else do we have that's important here? If the question comes up on the resume, salary, what kind of salary are you looking for? What are your expectations? In Illinois, they should not be asking that for the past few years. If that question is there, you can put something down that would relate to this position. What you made at your past job, quite honestly, is irrelevant for a new position, particularly in a totally new career. If you have a job coach, talk to us. We have different suggestions on that. Get some idea of what the job should pay, though, do in your research. And let's move on to the next one. All right. Again, job applications, and the reason we didn't just have it in one, this is important. Don't minimize the application. List all your skills. It's important, your certifications, be truthful, and yes, truthful, completely truthful, because they can check this and you don't want to be caught, fudging things. I already talked about proofreading it. When you do an application, get an application, a blank application, fill it out once, spend an hour and a half going through your past employment, making sure you have the correct dates, the correct addresses, correct emails, correct everything. So you have one master, you have that in front of you so you're not taking guesses. Well, I think I started that in 2004, March. No, go back, do it once correctly and use that as a master to fill out these applications. Social Security number, it's unusual, but I have seen this. For example, if you wanted to be, I'll take one I'm very familiar with. If you wanted to be a truck driver, well, they may ask for your driver's license. Why? Because they want to see if you have accidents or DUIs, that kind of thing. So that's a reasonable thing. Generally, though, be careful with that Social Security information. If you're not sure you're really applying at the company website, double check on that too. Be careful. There is a lot of fraud out there, and I'm not a fraud expert, but just be careful. Next. Important question. Be honest about this. If you had a felony or misdemeanor, be honest. What the employer wants to know, okay, yeah, I had a DUI 10 years ago. Haven't had any problem since. That's fine. They could be hired to drive a truck today, quite honestly. But if you don't disclose it, you have right off the bat, it's a problem. If you have anything issue like this, talk to one of us, a job coach. Again, it's showing I learned something from this experience. I'm not doing it again. Next. All right, common question in interviews is, or even on the application is, why did you leave your last job? Again, be honest about it. Today, it's pretty common that, well, 2020, 2021, the company laid off 90% of its workforce. Hey, you're not responsible for that. That's no reflection on you. Be honest about it. Let's say you helped a family member and you got to take a certain time period away from the workforce, state that. What an employer wants to know, quite honestly, is, okay, if there was an issue that kept you out of the workforce in the past, is that going to be an issue going forward? They want to know, is it going to be a problem? If the issue is resolved, if the person's health is fine and everything's good, okay, it's no longer a problem. That's what they want to know. No longer a problem. And it could be a career change. You could say, I was in this industry for a long time. It was very stressful. At this point, I want to transition to a better work-life balance. Be honest about it again, be honest, but have an explanation. Next. All right, some more work suggestions, leaving your last job. Temporary, yeah, there's this time of year, everybody, I went to Target last week. I was going to apply for employment there, but I knew it was temporary. Well, what does that mean? It means that after the end of the year, you're gone. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. And you can have that on your resume. Just make sure you have temporary, or if it was through a temp agency, indicate that again on your job application. And these are some more suggestions, how to explain it: reduction in force, RIF, slowing, restructuring, business closed. Many businesses closed up in the last few years. No surprise to anybody here. Negative words, you don't want to use those. I was quit. I was fired. I was thrown out the back door into the alley. No, you don't want to use any of those. Next. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is just to index what we're going to speak about. The interview process. This is another sales presentation. The resume is a sales presentation. The application is also a sales presentation. And this is your best opportunity in-person presentation, the interview, whether it's on a phone or whether it's in person or a Zoom. Research the company. Number one, why did you apply there if you didn't research it? Maybe they're into a business, or their values are totally different than yours. Maybe it's a company you don't want to work for. Research the company. I suggest this before you even bother applying. Why apply and then find out I don't want to work for this company? Research the position. That ONET online that Janet spoke about, that'll give you 20 pages of information about the position, even to like, do you need to lift more than 10 pounds? Do you sit in a chair? Are you on the phone? Are you on the computer? Very detailed. That's a great free website, that ONET online. An interview is a two-way conversation. You have to have questions that you want to ask of them. Keep in mind, the company wants to hire you because you have an excellent background. You're perfect for the job. They have to be able to sell you, not just you sell them. They have to sell you, like, why should you work for this company? And how do you determine that? Through questions you ask them. Is this really a good fit for me? Am I going to thrive here? Am I going to enjoy working here? By the way, companies love to hire people that are enthusiastic, that they think will enjoy doing the work, because they are the best employees by far. You in 30 seconds. Again, that's that elevator speech that Janet spoke about. When you meet somebody, forget an interview. When you meet somebody, you size them up pretty quick. You kind of know within a short time period, is this somebody I want to continue a conversation with, or is this somebody I want to turn and run away? You know it. And the same thing is true in an interview. They may not walk away from their desk, but if the interview may not go very well. Know what they're looking for. They don't want to know about, oh, my grandmother used to bake great apple pies. That they're not interested in that 30-second. It's like, are you going to be an asset to the company? That's what I want to hear. I'm interviewing you. I want to know, are you going to bring a benefit, be an asset? Questions, we spoke about that. Don't be late. Make sure you know if it's by the train tracks in DuPage County somewhere, that you can get a couple of freight trains and a 10-15 minute delay at those tracks. You don't want to be apologizing when you walk into that interview and you're a minute late. Not a good thing. 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, you almost, I would say, cancel, because it's not going to be good. Next. All right, in person, this is for in person. You don't know how many people you're going to be meeting with. If it's, well, we have come to our offices, you may not know. There might be 3 people, might be 5 people. Bring along extra copies of your resume, your application. For you, you want the job description and have it highlighted. Why? So you don't forget to ask the questions about the company and about the job. And many times just highlighting that job description can help you out with that. And the last three on the bottom are important. Remember that we're kind of driving it home. That first question, tell me about yourself, Janet. That's real important. You've got to get that done. You've got to practice that one. Confidence, be confident. Don't go into the interview with the thought like, gee, I don't think I'm going to get this job, but I'm going to do no, go into there. I know I'm going to get this job. This is the perfect job for me. I'm the perfect candidate. Confidence, very important. Enthusiasm, another word. Smile. You're a human being. You're speaking to another human being, certainly in an in-person interview. I know Indeed and some, they have these online robot things interviewing you, but even on those, smile. I don't care if you're talking to a robot, smile, be personable. Next. Okay, common sense, a laundry list I'm not going to read. You should look put together, and everybody in this group, it's an intelligent group, knows what that means. Silence your phone. Imagine you're in your 30-second, you're so proud of yourself. You're almost done with your 30-second speech, and Mr. or Mrs. Spam is calling you and your phone is ringing away. Going to blow your concentration. You're going to be apologizing. And it's not good. Leave the phone in the car, turn it off, do something with it, but don't have it where it can start ringing. And don't bring along coffee, chewing gum, silly things like that. Next. Okay, well, I spoke to this already. Be early, 15 minutes early. I would suggest if it was me, I'd probably be a half hour early, but for you, 15 minutes would probably be fine. Park in the lot, sit in your car a few minutes, 5 minutes before, go in. What do you do in that 10-minute period? Maybe you review questions you want to ask. Maybe there's some things you just want to review. Maybe you wanted to review. You wanted to remember the CEO of the company, their name, and a little bit of the history of the company. I had a client that got an excellent job because she happened to know the CEO of the company and the business plan of the company going forward. This came up in a second interview. What do you know about our CEO and our business plans? Well, they were testing. Did you do any research? So keep that in mind. Do research. Kind and courteous. I'll just skip to number 5. Be enthusiastic about the job. Again, if you're not enthusiastic, why are you there? And the company asks themselves that too. Like, well, I can't pay my rent next month. That's why I'm here. Company doesn't care if you can pay your rent next month. They don't care if it's close to your home. Oh, it'll be a short commute. That's why I want to work for you. Totally irrelevant to them. They want the best qualified person for the job, period. Be a good listener. Don't do all of the talking. And watch your nonverbal behavior. Nonverbal behavior, according to the experts, is 65% of our communication. 35% is what's coming out of our mouth. Be careful. Don't be folding your arms across your chest, leaning back, staring at the ceiling, playing drums on the table in front of you with your fingers. Any silly things like that, don't do it. Next. Okay, this is called STAR. I'm going to say situation, action, result. And a lot of these are behavioral type questions. It'll start out something like, tell me about a time you had a difficult coworker, a difficult customer, a difficult client, a difficult supervisor. And what they're looking for is a situation. Well, I started the job and I was butting heads with my supervisor. What did I do? I communicated with them, with the supervisor, and said, how about we get a cup of coffee or go for pizza at lunchtime? And we discussed it. And I understood at that point that the supervisor was speaking one language, I was speaking another. We came to a common language and we were able to work together successfully. That's what they're looking for. A situation, action, result. Have examples of it. This comes in all different ways. It comes situation, action, result. You know, if it's in a manufacturing facility and the lines go down, you always have to have an example. What did you do when the lines went down? What action did you take and what result? Okay, very, very important. That's what SAR is. Let's move to the next. And here's some more basic interview questions. And again, this is a short workshop. I'd love to spend an hour with you, but Janet wouldn't like it and Karen wouldn't like it, and I'm not going to do that. So we'll just pick a couple. Ones that a lot of people don't like. Tell me about your greatest weakness. That's a common one. I'll tell you what the answer to that one is. I don't have any weaknesses. No, that's not the right answer. The right answer is, yes, I had or I have this weakness. Here's what I've done about it. I've got, you know, it's no longer an issue. That's the best if you can answer it like that. Let's pick one. What do you know about this company? I just told you about the CEO story and this great position that was gotten because the person knew who the CEO was and knew who the business plan. Tell me about a time you went above and beyond the call of duty. Let's skip that one. The most important thing the company really wants to know, why do you want to work for us? And the real answer is because I'm going to be an asset to your company, because I'm going to make your company more efficient, more profitable. Whenever a company hires people, that's what they want to think. They don't want to think like, oh, Janet's going to be a great expense item for us. That's not the good thing. It's got to be, Janet's going to be a real asset to this organization. She's going to bring her experience, talent, expertise. She's going to really make the company rise. That's what they want to know. Next. All right, one more we'll do here. What are your plans for the future? Wrong answer would be, well, in about 3 months, I'm thinking of moving to Europe. Why would the company spend $2,000? Then it depends on the company. To bring on and onboard a person can be anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, $6,000. Why would they spend that money on somebody that wants to work there 3 months and then has other plans? They want to hear, I believe I have found a home here. This is where I want to work. I want to grow with the company. My plans are to be here. I mean, nobody knows what tomorrow brings, but certainly going in an interview, it's got to be, I have found my home and I want to be happy here and thrive here. Next. All right. At the end of the interview, you have a time where they're going to say, Janet, do you have any questions for us here at Northwestern Hospital if you were applying there? And this would be an opportunity for Janet to say, tell me what a typical day is. Can you tell me about the culture of this organization? Am I expected to be on call 24/7, answer my phone, answer my text at 2 in the morning? There are companies that do that. So you want to know, what is the culture? What is really expected of people that work here? What are my growth possibilities? Another one you could ask is, tell me about a recent hire for this position. I assume I'm not the first one that's going to ever be in this position. Tell me about a recent hire. Why did they work out? A recent hire that worked out good. Why did they work out good? They're going to give you back some adjectives that Janet was resourceful, thought on, could think on her feet quickly, responsive, things like that. And those are mentally, you say those and feed them back along if you have a chance in the little closing sentence, say those. So that have some questions. The wrong thing is, no, I don't have any questions. Because you're tired of the interview and you just want to get out of there. No, have questions. And next, let's see what's on the next slide. Right. When will my performance be evaluated? That's a good question to ask. How often will I receive evaluations? That's important because when you ask that, the company knows that you want to know that you'd like some feedback. Am I doing a good job? Am I doing what you expect me to do? Quicker performance reviews and for a newer employee, I think are a wonderful thing, but asking that question really shows that you want to do a good job. So not a bad thing to ask, when will employee reviews be done? Find a more company culture. We just spoke about that. Typical employee. Okay, last one. If they ask you, what do you want to get paid? Here's what I like to say. I'd like to be paid fairly based on my time, talent, and experience. What do you have in mind? Make them throw out the number. If you throw out 20 an hour and they were willing to pay you 25 an hour, guess what? You just lost $5 an hour. So let them be the first one. Next. And at the end of the interview, let them close it. Let them be the one to say, okay, it's over with. And thank them for their time. Again, be thankful, be enthusiastic. You can throw in one last closing line like, oh, I really would like to work here. When can I hear back from you? This is my dream job. This is my target job. I've really thought about working for your organization. Throw in something like that. And after the interview, again, send a short email. Thank you for your time. I'm the person that if there was something really that struck you about the organization, feed it back in that little 2-line email. Thank you email. Next. Negative slide here about people that, why don't you get hired? The only one that really counts, it's usually number 15. Another candidate is better qualified. That's why you didn't get the position. Another one could be, the second one I would say is lack of interest and enthusiasm, number 5 on there. If you're not enthusiastic, you're not going to get the job. But it's usually another candidate had better qualifications. Next. Stay upbeat. What's the goal? That's your prize. Keep your eyes there. Keep your goals going. Don't be disappointed if you don't get a positive. It was a learning process for you. Move on. Make another application, get another interview. Each time you get better at it, and it gets you one closer, I guarantee you, each time you go, the odds of you getting a position increase. So keep with the program, don't give up. And back to Janet.
Okay, thank you so much, Charles. So really quick, before we open it up for questions, I just want to remind you about the job assistance program with PRC. So if you're interested in working with a job coach, you may call the number that you see there in red and the message, and someone will get back to you. And again, our job coaches can work with you on really any part of the process that you might be in, including filling out applications, your overall readiness. We have resume specialists. They can practice interviews with you, any of those. So I'm going to stop the sharing here. And I did see some questions in the chat. So if we want to open those up.
Yes, there are. The first one was, how does one identify the target job market to begin with?
Well, that would be specific to each person, depending on, their own interests and what skills they have. So I think we talked a little bit about some of those like surveys or quizzes and assessments that you can take. So if you really don't know, or maybe you're like, I know what I don't want to do, that's even helpful. So I would suggest, starting with some of those assessments and then having some good conversations with your job coach to kind of narrow down some fields and then going from there. But that's a tough one to answer because, again, it's really specific to each person's, skills and their likes. Charles, do you have anything to add?
No, that's a good suggestion. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Spend some time on that ONET. Take that My Next Move little quiz. That's a good suggestion. Start with a big area like administrative. If you put administrative in ONET, you'll get 100 results and it'll be like, no, I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to do that thing. Like, oh, this sounds interesting. Click on it and look at really what they do. And ONET tells you pretty much 99% of what that person does during their day. And I like this or I don't. That might be a suggestion.
Excellent. Thank you. And then the other question that was in the chat is what are SAR statements?
I think I saw that question prior to Charles going over it, so I'm going to assume that we probably answered that, but just as a reminder, the SAR is the same as the STAR. It's just situation, action, and result. So you can use that method when you're creating your accomplishments and your resumes, but more importantly, you can use those in your interview when you're answering like the behavioral questions. It's just a good way to organize the way you're going to like lay that out as far as, you know, tell me about a time when this happened, or can you give me an example of this? And then you lay it out as like, well, this was the situation, this was the action I took, and this was the result of my action. So I like thinking of it as like a process instead of like talking all over the place. Like think about your example and spell it out that way. So again, situation, action, result.
Yeah, one little quick comment. The result should always be positive. Work with your coach, go back, even talk to your coworkers, talk to people that know you. I worked with you for 5 years. Do you ever remember anything, an accomplishment or a situation that came up that I handled? Even going back in time like that'll work too.
Quick question. Sorry, I was the one that asked about the SAR statements. Do you always have to have a metric in the results? Or
No.
is it okay as long as it's just positive?
No, you don't need a metric. If you do, it would be a great thing. In metrics, I understand it may be something as simple as I had a client recently that worked for a company that did not know what a mail merge was, and they were hand addressing in envelopes and putting stamps on it. Pretty expensive procedure today. And this person introduced them to the world of mail merge. Okay. My employer was not, I introduced a new system for our marketing with mail merge, blah, blah, blah. No metric there, but just that you've done something.
I think metrics are really helpful for your resume because that's really like where the eyes are drawn and the reader will go to that. But for the interview, I don't think it's necessary, just as long as you use that as a guideline to how you're going to answer the question.
Okay, thanks so much.
Sure.
And one more has popped up on the chat. Is it acceptable to take notes during an interview?
Charles, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I would not be writing down every word the person says, but like a short thing, you don't want to be focused on the paper and the pen. Okay, I can't write unless I look at the paper and pen. Maybe you can. In an interview, you should be making eye contact with people most of the time. To look away for a few seconds and write down the word, maybe something comes to mind that you could bring up in your interview, like, oh, yeah, I did this thing and it really made the company profitable. Okay, you could put a little reminder for yourself, but don't be having 2 pages of notes of every little word they're saying. That's a rude thing, and you're not making good use of your eye contact and your body language if you're doing that.
I'm going to add to that as well. I can't really envision someone taking notes during the portion of the interview where they're asking you questions. But I think it's more acceptable at the end when they ask you, do you have any questions for me? Maybe there's some information in there that's important for you to write down, or maybe at the conclusion of an interview, they're giving you, some information that might be good. But during the time that they're asking you questions, I'll reiterate what Charles said. I think it's more important that you're making a connection with them. And typically when you're taking notes, you're losing that eye contact and being able to forge that connection. So again, probably more acceptable towards the end when they may be giving you information. And then I'd also encourage you at the end of the interview, like when you're back in your car or back at home, you can write down the questions that they asked you, because chances are you're probably going to be doing another interview for another job. And it's a good way to practice, because you'd be surprised how quickly you actually forget what the interview questions were and how fast it leaves your mind, like, oh, I think I bombed that one, and or I did really good with that. So that's a good time. I know that wasn't exactly your question, but as far as taking notes so you can practice later, I think that's a good idea.
Just give me 1 second here. I think I'm actually gonna pause the recording. Laura, you're kind of on screen. Is it okay if we include that part and part of the?
Yeah, that's okay. I
Right.
didn't want to distract from the presentation, but I
Yeah.
did hear the request for people to be on screen to make it more
Okay.
personable. So
Oh,
I hope that's okay.
Thanks. All right, thanks. I am gonna pause it here, though.
Nice, thank you.
oh, Karen, you're still muted. There you go.
Yes, I got it. I was trying to
Sorry.
turn the recording back on. So yes, if there are no more questions, obviously, as Janet said, you can reach out to the PRC directly. There are also a lot of great resources online at the library. And we have something called Book an Expert. So we can sit down with you one-on-one and walk you through some of the online resources. We can't write a resume or proof the resume, but we can kind of walk you through some of the resources out there. So thank you very much for everybody who came. Thank you, Charles and Janet.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Karen, for having us.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks, Karen.
All right.
Bye.
We'll see you in January.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.